ready for the last reading in Shiloh. Hello. The last time we read, of course, Marty was still at Judd's, and Judd had just thrown an empty beer can, at one of his dogs. The can hits the biggest dog, and they all scatter. Don't much like being chained, Judd says. Guess nobody would, I tell him. I put in 10 hours that week, meaning I make up 20 of the dollars I owe him, and got one more week to go. When I leave of an afternoon for Judd's, Shiloh goes with me just so far, and then he gets to whining and turns back. He doesn't want to go to Judd's, does he? I'm just glad he won't go with me. Don't want him anywhere near Judd Travers. Monday of the second week, it seems like Judd's out to break my back or my spirit or both. This time he's got me splitting wood. I got to roll a big old piece of locust wood over to the stump in his side yard and drive a wedge in it, and then hit the wedge with a sledgehammer again and again till the wood falls apart in pieces to fit in his wood stove. And then another log, and another. I can hardly get the sledgehammer up over my head, and when I bring it down, my arms are so wobbly my aim ain't true. Almost dropped the hammer. This ain't a job for me, and if Dad saw what Judd was making me do, he'd tell me it wasn't safe. But Judd's out to teach me a lesson, and I'm out to teach him one. So I keep at it, knowing it takes me twice as long as Judd to split that wood, but I don't stop. And all the while, Judd sits on his porch drinking his beer, watching me sweat. Sure does his heart good, I can tell. And he says something that almost stops my heart cold, laughs and said, "Boy, you sure are putting in a whole lot of work for nothing." Uh-oh. I rest my back a moment, wipe one arm across my face. "Shiloh something," I tell him. "You think you're going to get my dog just because you got some handwriting on a piece of paper?" Judd laughs and drinks some more. "Why, that paper's not good for anything but to blow your nose on. Didn't have a witness." I look at Judd. "What do you mean? You don't even know what's legal and what's not, do you?" "Well, you show a judge a piece of paper with a witness's signature, without a witness's signature, he'll laugh you right out of the courthouse. Got to have somebody sign that he saw you strike a bargain." Judd laughs some more. "And nobody here but my dogs." I feel sick, like maybe I could throw up. Can't think of what to do or say, so I just lift up the sledgehammer again and go on splitting the wood. Judd laughs even harder. "What are you, boy, some kind of fool?" And when I don't answer, he says, "What you breaking your back for?" "I want that dog," I tell him, and raise the sledgehammer again. And that night, when I'm sitting out on the porch with Ma and Dad, Shiloh in my lap, I check it out. "What's a witness?" I say. "Well, somebody who knows the Lord Jesus and doesn't mind telling about it," says Ma. "No, the other kind. Somebody who sees something happen and signs that it's true," Dad says. "What you got in your mind now, Marty?" "Well, you make a bargain with someone, you gotta have a witness?" I ask, not answering. "If you want it done right and legal, I suppose you do. I can't bear to have Dad know how I was so stupid to make an agreement with Judd Travers without a witness." "What you thinking on?" Dad asks me again, hunching up his shoulders while Ma rubs his back. "Just thinking how you will sell something is all, land and stuff." Dad gives me a look. You're not trying to sell off some of my land for that dog, are you?" "No," I tell him. Glad I got him off track. "I sure am worried. Every trace of that deer's gone now, and Dad don't know what Judd done with the meat. Rented him a meat locker somewhere, maybe. But there's no bones around, no hide, no report. Can't report him now. Can't prove a thing." Next day, Judd Travers calls me down, sees me waiting for him on his steps, and said I must have a head as thick as a coconut. Don't he already tell me that paper was worth nothing? I just look straight through him. You and me made a bargain, I say, and I aim to keep my part of it. Want what you want me to do today? Judd just points to the sledgehammer again and doubles over laughing like it's the biggest joke he ever played on somebody in his life. I can feel the sweat trickle down my back, and I ain't even started yet. 4 o'clock comes, and I'm finally finished all of that wood, but Judd pretends he's asleep. Got his head laid back, mouth half open, but I know it's just another way he's got to trick me. Wants me to sneak on home, and then he'll say I never kept my part of the bargain. So I go to his shed and put the sledgehammer back and take out the sickle and tackle the weeds down by his mailbox. Work on them weeds a whole hour, and when 5 o'clock comes, I start back toward the shed. See him watching me. I walk over. Sickle's getting dull, Judd. You got a whetstone around? I could sharpen it for you. He studies me a good long while. In the shed, he says. I go get it, sit on the stump, running the whetstone over the blade. Past 5 o'clock, says Judd. I know, I say. I ain't gonna pay you 1 cent more, he says. It's okay, I tell him. Never saw a look on a man's face like I saw on his. Pure puzzlement is what it was. The thing I decide on when I head for Judd again the next day is that I got no choice. All I can do is stick to my side of the deal and see what happens. All in the world I can do. If I quit now, he'll come for Shiloh, and we're right back where we started. And I don't want to make him mad. No use having a winner and a loser, or bad feelings would just go on. Don't want to have to worry about Shiloh when he's running loose and I'm in school. Don't want to feel that Judd's so sore at me he'll think I'm an excuse at all to run his truck over my dog. Only sign in this world we're making progress is the water Judd puts out for me. This day it even has ice in it, and Judd don't say one more word about a witness. In fact, when I'm through working and sit down on the porch to finish the water, Judd talks a little more than usual. Only bond we got between us as dogs, but at least it's something. I decide to say something nice to Judd, tell him how good looking his dogs are. Giving a compliment to Judd is like filling a balloon with air. You can actually see his chest swell up. 40, 30, 45, he says when I tell him about his dogs. Those are their names now? It's what I paid for him, he says. If they had a little more meat on their bones, I figure they'd be the best looking hounds in Tyler County, I tell him. Judd just sits there, turning his beer around in his hands and says, maybe could use a little more fat. I nurse my water along a little too, and when did you first get interested in hunting? I ask him. Your pa take you out when you were little? Judd spits. Didn't know a man could drink beer and chew tobacco at the same time, but Judd does. Once or twice, he says. Only nice thing about my dad I remember. It's the first time in my life I ever felt anything like sorry for Judd Travers. If you weighed it on a postal scale, wouldn't hardly move the needle at all. But I suppose there was a fraction of an ounce of sorry for him somewhere inside me. And when I thought on all the things I'd done with my own dad and how Judd could only remember hunting, well, that was pretty pitiful for a lifetime. Thursday, when I get there, Judd's meanness has got the best of him again because I can see he's running out of work for me to do, just giving me work to make me sweat. Dig a ditch to dump his garbage in, he says, hoe that cornfield again, scrub that porch, weed that bean patch. Well, close on to 5 o'clock, he seems to realize that I'm only going to be there one more time. I'd worked real hard that day, did anything he asked, and done it better than he asked me to do. Well, one more day, Judd says, when I sit down at last with my water and him with his beer. What are you going to do with that dog once he's yours? Just play, I tell him. Love him. We sit there side by side while the clouds change places, puff out, and wind blowing them this way and that. I'm wondering how things would have turned out if it hadn't been for that deer. If I just knocked on Judd's front door 2 weeks ago and told him I wasn't giving Shiloh up, what would have happened then? To tell the truth, I think Ma's right. Judd would have sold him to me by and by just because of Shiloh's limp. Judd's the kind that don't like that dog. Don't want a dent or a scratch of any kind in his pickup truck. Makes him look bad, he thinks. His truck's got to be perfect to make up for the ways that Judd's not. The last day I work for Judd, he inspects every job I do and finds fault with the least little thing, keeps pestering me, makes me hang around, do my work over. And when it's time to go, I say, well, I guess that's it then. Judd don't answer. Just stands in the doorway of his trailer looking at me. And then I got the feeling he's going to tell me I can take that paper he signed and use it for kindling. Tell me that I can call the game warden if I want, and there's not a trace of that deer left. And the 2 weeks of work I put in for him was just long enough for rain to wash away the blood, for the field grass to spring back and where the deer was shot. He still don't say anything, though, so I start off for home, chest tight. Just a minute, says Judd. I stop. He goes back inside the trailer, me waiting there in the yard. What am I going to say? He tries that. What am I going to do? And then Judd's back there in the doorway again. He's got something in his hand, comes down the steps halfway. Here, he says, it's a dog's collar. An old collar, but better than the one Shiloh's got now. Maybe a little big, but he'll grow into it. I look at Judd and take the collar. I don't know how we done it, but somehow we learned to get along. Thanks a lot, I tell him. Got yourself a dog, he says, and goes inside and don't even look back. I get home that evening and Ma's baked a chocolate layer cake to celebrate. A real cake, too, and no Betty Crocker. After dinner, Ma and Dad on the porch, and the four of us roll around in the grass together. Carolyn, Becky, Shiloh, and me. Becky tries to give Shiloh her butterfly kiss, but he don't hold still long enough. But he don't hold on long enough to feel her eyelashes bad against him. Just got to lick everywhere on her face. Long after Becky and Darylyn goes inside, I lay out there on my back in the grass, not caring about the dew. Shiloh against me crosswise, his paws on my chest. I look at the dark closing in, sky getting more and more purple, and I'm thinking how nothing is as simple as you guess. Not right or wrong, not Judd Travers, not even me or this dog I got here. The good part is I saved Shiloh and opened my eyes some. And now that ain't bad for 11. Whoa, that's the end of a very good book. So take out your Google Doc and fill out your summary, your questions, frictions, feelings, and thoughts. And whoa, the end of a winner. Awesome. What's next? We'll find out.